Alright, so in this video I'm going to go through how you can reverse engineer your way into making 10k a month as a sales rep. This is a method that I use myself to reach 20k months, and that I also use with the 11 sales reps that I manage on a daily basis. So there is a problem that I see a lot of sales reps having in the beginning, and I was the exact same, and that is how you allocate your time, your energy and your focus. And these three things, they are scarce assets, so it's very important that we allocate these in the right way. And what I see a lot of people doing wrong in the beginning is that they focus too much on these fancy word tracks that like a good closer posted on an Instagram reel, or these objection handles that never really come up on a real call. Okay, they focus on the wrong things, even though most of the time, 99% of the time I would say, there's something early in the sales process that moves the needle a lot more that they should focus on. So this sheet helps you identify what you need to focus on, and number two, what you need to do on a daily basis. So let's jump into it. And this sheet is made for mainly hybrid sales reps, so sales reps that set their own calls. That's the way I did it, and that's the way my team does it. But it definitely works for setters, definitely works for closers, and especially for sales managers as well, if you want to identify bottlenecks in your sales process. So what you do is you start off with just filling out the gray columns. Number one, your earnings target, the commission, and then the closing rate, the KPIs, the show up rate, the set rate, and the response rate. Okay, so I'm going to go into what all of these mean. So number one, your earnings target, 10k, the golden number. That's what most sales reps want to reach in the beginning. So let's say you make 500 a sale in commissions, just to make it easy to count. In order for you to make 10k in a month with 500 per sale, then you need to make 20 sales in that month. And if you work 25 days, as you can see here, then you need to have, then you need to have 0.8 sales a day. Let's say I have a 45% closing rate. In order for you to have 20 sales in a month, that means you have to complete 44 closing calls that month, okay, which is 1.8 closing calls a day. And in order for you to complete 44 closing calls in a month, you need to have, with the show up rate of 75%, you need to have 59 bookings on your calendar for that month. That is 2.4 for that per day. Okay. In order for you to have 59 sets bookings for a month with a 55% set rate, you need to have 107 set calls that month, which is 4.3 a day if you work 25 days. And with the response rate of 15%, you need to make 718 dials for that whole month for you to have 107 set calls, and that is 29 dials a day. And as you guys can see, it's very, very easy now to see what you need to do on a daily basis to make 10k a month. Okay, you just have to do 29 dials a day and keep these KPIs up. Okay, but the big thing here is that it's not only about making these dials. You also have to have the set calls, you have to have the sets, the closing calls, the sales. Okay, and most of these things you can, well, all of these things you can have an impact on. So let's say you make 30 dials, you make 29 dials in a day, and you haven't had 4.3 set calls, you've only had 3. Then just keep dialing, because you know, in order for you to reach 10k, you need to have this. Okay, and it's the same with sets, it's the same with closing calls. So you cannot just get stuck with this number. Obviously, you have to, if you haven't hit the other numbers, then you have to increase your input. So that's the number one thing. Okay, what you need to do on a daily basis in order for you to reach your target. But number two, this is a great way as well into actually identifying the biggest bottlenecks. So let's say we just lower the show up rate to 45%, and just look what happened here. If we take it back to 75, look at the dials per day. Okay, as you can see, with a 45% show up rate, you need to make approximately 20 more dials each day in order for you to reach that goal, because this KPI just got a lot lower. Okay, so that means you have to do a lot more input to get a lot more output. Okay, so if we look at these KPIs, you can easily see where the bottlenecks are. So I'll just go through how I would look at it and see what this sales rep who would have these KPIs, what they should focus on. So number one, look at the response rate. Well, actually, number one, I would look at the dials. Okay, are they making the amount of dials that they need to do every day? If this sales rep is not making the dials, let's say they only make 30, then I will tell them, okay, get up to 48. That is the least hanging fruit. When they have done the dials, okay, look at the KPIs. So which of these KPIs is the lowest hanging fruit? That's always the way that I think. Response rate, that is the lowest KPIs here, but a 15% response rate is reasonably good, okay? I would say if you really focus on getting this response rate up, then you could probably push it to 20%, okay? So it's not gonna make that much of a difference. As you can see with the amount of dials. Obviously we want to optimize it all the time, but it's not gonna make the most difference. The set rate here, 55%, it's alright, I would say, and in my opinion, set rate is not usually the most important thing. It's the quality of the sets. You don't want the set rate to be the highest. If it's 100%, well, it depends on these. Obviously, if 100% sharp rate, 100% closing rate, yeah, then why not have a 100% set rate? But usually that's not the case. Usually you don't want to have it too high, because that usually means that you book in low qualified leads, okay? We don't want to have it too low, because obviously we want to have the volume. So I would say a set rate of 55% is reasonably good. Maybe you can increase it to 65-70%, but that is not only on you as a sales rep. I think that is a little bit on the marketing. But the next KPI here is the sharp rate, and even though the sharp rate here is the same as the closing rate, I would say that the sharp rate is a much lower hanging fruit to improve than the closing rate. So it's so much harder to get the closing rate to, let's say you want to double the closing rate. That is a lot more harder than doubling the sharp rate. And this is actually a statistic that I had myself. When I was making my 20k months, I had a sharp rate of 90% and I only had a closing rate of 40%. All right, but it's so much easier to actually improve your sharp rate to 90% rather than improving your closing rate to 90%. But like I said in the beginning, most people, they just focus on improving the closing rate, but that's not usually the lowest hanging fruit. Maybe they have a shit sharp rate, so they need to increase that. All right, so by using this reverse engineering sheet, you can, like I said, easily identify your bottlenecks, what you need to improve on. And yeah, this is something, like I said, this has helped me a lot to really allocate my time, my energy and my focus in the right way with myself, but also with my team. So one thing that I do is that before each month, I make a sheet with all of my sales rep. I just look at all of their KPIs, I fill them in here, and then I send a personal link to them so they can see clearly, okay, what do I need to do to reach my target? But the first thing that I see a lot of sales reps doing wrong as well is they don't even track their KPIs. So it's very important that we track these KPIs, all of these numbers, because we cannot make decisions on feelings. As a businessman, as a sales rep, you cannot make decisions on feelings. You have to make them on numbers and statistics. Okay, and this is exactly what you do here. So hopefully this makes sense. And if you want this sheet, please subscribe to my channel. Please like this video and also comment below so I can reach out to you and send you this sheet. So thank you guys for watching and have a nice day.